Yes, no, or unsure. When CBC called the Guelph number, it connected to the Voter Outreach and Funding Office of the Conservative Party of Canada. Here's part of the lengthy recorded message, which goes on for over 2 minutes in both official languages.
The Conservative Party of Canada was founded on the principles of peace and freedom on the world stage, responsible management of taxpayers' money, a welcoming land of refuge for the world's persecuted and afflicted.
Vanderberg wants to know why the Conservative Party wouldn't provide a toll-free number.
I want the Conservatives either talk to me in person, on the phone for real, instead of leaving these dumb text messages, and stop trying to charge me for phone calls, which they want me to make, to call them. And I don't know what's legit or real anymore.
And I've made contact with a media representative from the Conservative Party. She was trying to get me in touch with someone to be interviewed about this, so we're working on this, but no one was able to accommodate the request at this point. We're still working on it. Chris?
Thanks, Dale. CBC's Dale Molnar, live tonight. As the campaign for the December 20th election heads into its second full week, the Liberals are promising big dollars for health care. Today in Halifax, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau committed billions of new dollars for the provinces and territories. But as CBC's David Thurton reports, his message may have been drowned out by a Twitter storm.
In reality, we are leading the G7.
Campaigning with Anita Anand, dubbed the Minister of Vaccines, Justin Trudeau made his healthcare pitch to voters.
That the federal government needs to step up with more funding.
Money, Liberals say, to reduce wait times, to hire 7,500 new family doctors and nurses, just over $10 billion, on top of the funding already promised in this year's budget.
This is our moment to rebuild a healthcare system that works for all Canadians.
Trudeau made the announcement in Nova Scotia, a province fresh off its own election, which saw health issues take center stage. Nova Scotia voters handed progressive Conservatives a majority and gave the provincial Liberal government the boot. If today's announcement was about Trudeau trying to avoid a similar fate, his message may have gotten lost in the controversy on Twitter over a candidate's attack post. The social media platform marked this video manipulated media.
Would you be prepared to allow provinces to experiment with real healthcare reform, including the provision of private, for-profit, and non-profit healthcare options inside of universal coverage?
Yes. With their social media yesterday, they're importing American-style misleading politics. Let me be perfectly clear. I 100% support our public and universal healthcare system.
The Liberals say that they're standing by their tweet and are challenging the social media platform's decision. The party says O'Toole's comments are posted in full, which voters can go watch to see the Conservative leader's unedited comments. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
We turn now to our local COVID numbers. Over the last 3 days, there were 158 new cases. Now, right now, there's 391 active cases. Half involve variants of concern. Another person has died, a woman in her 50s. 9 people are in hospital right now. 8 are unvaccinated. The health unit has also put out a warning to those who played or attended the Jane and Finch Classic basketball tournament. It was held in Oshawa from August 3rd to 8th. Anyone who is there is cautioned to be tested for COVID as soon as possible. So far, there's cases from Quebec, Peel, Toronto, and Durham that have been identified. More and more employers are looking at policies around COVID-19 vaccinations. Today, the city of Windsor came out with what they want employees to follow, with municipalities across the region keeping a close eye.
City Council wants to develop a policy modeled after what the Ontario government is using. Here's what the mayor said they're working off of today. Employees that do not want to be vaccinated can refuse to do so. Every 2 weeks, they will need to take a COVID-19 test. They want a policy in place by September 7th and have asked all agencies, boards, and committees to operate under the same policy. That would include the police service and NWIN. The Union for the City's Inside Workers, CUPE 543, represents 1,200 members. Nationally, they're encouraging people to get vaccinated. Locally, they're calling for collaboration on any policy.
In terms of different employers that have been coming out with policies, there have been some that are are suggesting that there will be repercussions in terms of people being placed on unpaid leave or even terminated. Certainly, we're not looking for the city to adopt that approach, but we hope that we can come to some sort of compromise that will enable us all to be able to move forward safely.
Across Windsor, Essex, Windsor is the first to make a move. Kingsville expected to see a similar recommendation from staff on vaccinations in September. The mayor of Tecumseh, he chairs the board for the area health unit. He wants to see mandatory vaccines, says the discussion is getting louder, but no policy in place at this time. Lakeshore Council met today to discuss what a policy would look like in Leamington. They'll discuss this at tomorrow's council meeting. LaSalle's mayor says they're in early conversations. But one of the largest employers in the area will not mandate vaccines. Stellantis saying they encourage people to get vaccinated, saying today, quote, "We will not be mandating vaccines, but will continue to monitor the situation." Dr. Wajid Ahmed was asked about this on Friday after outlining a huge spike in the COVID-19 case rate, and that was before the area posted its highest single-day increase since January this Saturday.
The pushback will always be there, but I truly hope that people understand that there are certain obligations. You can have your own personal choice, but when you're talking about your choice impacting others, you have to take consideration. You cannot do that, and you cannot put others people at risk.
Now, the County of Essex put out their policy just before it aired. It's a mandatory vaccination policy requiring all employees to be partially vaccinated by no later than September 7th, fully vaccinated no later than October 30th. Now, there are exceptions that will be made for those with a medical exemption or a religious exemption under the Ontario Human Rights Code, but there are no indications on what would happen to somebody who chooses not to get vaccinated. Now, those COVID-19 cases in Ontario, they're rising. Another 639 cases recorded in the province today. And it comes after the province logged numbers in the 700s over the weekend, numbers that have not been seen since early June. Meanwhile, a frequent critic of the Ontario government during the pandemic has resigned from the province's science advisory table, suggesting that it was holding back on releasing its latest modeling data that projects a grim fall. Lorenda Redekop has the latest.
He's criticized government policy during this pandemic, often over Twitter. That's where epidemiologist Dr. David Fissman announced he's resigned from the science table. Days earlier, he tweeted that the advisory table had projections for a grim fall it hasn't released, and raised questions about whether it's actually arm's length from government.
We're not only arm's length, we're actually completely independent from the government. To make that very clear, I can't be sacked by anybody there.
The advisory table's scientific director says an independent scientist recently did present projections to them. But he says their official modeling always relies on a range of sources. Plus, the volunteer members have been on a summer break. Dr. Peter Uni has also frequently criticized the government's COVID policy. 2 weeks away from back to school, he says the province may need to soon reverse some of its reopening.
Once we were in step 2, we actually didn't see exponential growth. And this gives you a hunch about where we need potentially to calibrate ourselves in the future. We might need some restrictions again that allows us basically to navigate the situation well until our children aged below 12 can get vaccinated.
That's as the numbers of people in hospital with COVID-19 climbed. Plus, cases have been rising and are way higher compared to last summer. The opposition blamed the Premier, whatever the issues at the science table.
But what I can tell you for sure is that Doug Ford has failed on every front to take the advice he was given. He walked us right into that third wave with eyes wide open, and he's walking us into this fourth wave.
A spokesperson for the health minister says the government is acting, pointing to vaccination policies for high-risk settings and continuing to encourage more people to get their shots.
Thank you, David.
Though the Premier hasn't taken questions from reporters in weeks. It's unclear when the next modeling from the science table could be released. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
High school extracurricular activities will be down at least one sport. A board member for the Windsor and Essex County Secondary School Athletic Association says there will be no football this fall. He tells CBC he was informed by the French, English, and Catholic school boards about the move. Not all hope lost, though. The goal is to have a season in the spring. One player in grade 11 says he'll miss being out on the field.
Last year I found made sense because the virus was new. People were still trying to figure out what was going on, all that, right? The government put out mandates, and that's fine. I completely understand that. But a lot of kids have been really pent up and excited because we were thinking that we would be able to play this year. So now that we can't, a lot of kids are going to go back to what they were doing before, which is just being lazy and sitting around the house, which is not going to be good for when they're adults and they think that that's what they can do in life is just sit around the house. From the people I've talked to on the team, they seem pretty upset because they've been looking forward to this the whole time. One of my friends, lucky for him, got a scholarship before this announcement came out, so he's lucky. But for the rest of us, like grade 11 and 12, right? That's your last chance to get offers is your last 2 years. I'm mad that if I was able to play last year, I could have been a better player if we have a season this year. But not having the experience is really disheartening.
A nurse from Amherstburg, who's been part of the relief efforts in Haiti, says the country's in dire need of supplies. A powerful earthquake shook the southwest region, killing more than 2,000 people, injuring another 12,000. 48 hours after the quake, she was on the ground helping in the worst hit city.
It's pretty dire. Actually, when we arrived on day 2 of the earthquake, things were moving pretty steadily, and we were working in a hospital called Fatima in Lakai, and patients were coming through gradually. But now, in the last several days, we've been getting people from outlying areas of Lakai as well, and the injuries are significant.
Now, she's encouraging the public to make financial donations to help get more supplies to Haiti. She just got back to Canada after 5 intense days. Senior government officials say that Canadian Special Forces have been working outside the confines of the Kabul airport. The troops are operating there in order to get more Afghans to safety on those evacuation flights. Officials say the security perimeter surrounding the airport has become increasingly dangerous for the various forces there working to get people out. They say 436 people made it out of Kabul last night with Canadian assistance. They included Canadian citizens and family members, as well as Afghans accepted for resettlement here and in other countries. Canada will take part in an emergency G7 meeting tomorrow on the Afghan airlift. Back in Windsor, where 2 years in, and Chantel Badinsky wants more from disc golf. She's ranked number 8 in the world. She wants to turn out as a pro.
A lot of beginners, they seem to throw it really high in the air. The higher the better, it's going to go further. It's not like that. You have to, the nose angle, the disc that you're throwing, everything matters. So it took a little bit of time to get used to. I'm still working on my form every day. Putting is super important. So yeah, it's not natural. It feels very weird at first, but slowly it feels better and better every day. 3 weeks into playing disc golf, I joined my first tournament here at Lakewood. I've been playing in the professional division in Canada for probably a year now, almost a year. And I just decided that it would be best to go play the Amateur World Championship, see how I stacked up to the competition in the States, and I think I stacked up pretty good. It was really cool to see everyone playing there. They have a lot of skill, and it was so fun to meet all the other ladies that are trying to do the same thing as me. Once you get up there though, it's totally different. It doesn't even matter. My drives were very good, but my putting, I struggled. My legs were jello, my arms didn't work. I was like, oh my gosh, how do I put this in the basket? So that's definitely what hurt me the most. I think that I definitely could have won if I just putt like I normally could, but oh man, it was stressful. I will be going professional. I have a tournament in 2 weeks at Timmel, Toronto Maple Leaf Open, and yeah, I will be going professional. Hopefully I will be able to tour in the States. It's pretty expensive, so we have to figure out some things there, but that's the ultimate goal. What you want to do, just go do it. I never thought that I would be here. I didn't even know about disc golf 2 years ago, so it's just crazy to me that this is happening. It's just something that's been missing from my life. I found it, and I'm so happy doing it. It's just where I was supposed to be, I feel.
What a look outside we've got there. Seems like almost a great day for disc golf. A little bit of wind to keep you cool, but maybe enough to make trouble with that putting again there. Congratulations on that tournament. Excited always when people are doing good work out of Windsor. Nick Sirkovich is going to let us know how long this heat wave lasts next. Tropical storm Henry's been downgraded to a tropical depression, but it continues to drench the U.S. Northeast. It made landfall yesterday in Rhode Island. It's battered a big swath of the U.S. East Coast. Heavy rain, strong winds. Power outages have affected more than 100,000 customers in 4 states. Henry is expected to continue moving toward the Canadian Maritimes, with southern New Brunswick and Nova Scotia seeing strong winds, increased rainfall later today. By tomorrow night, some areas they can expect up to 40 millimeters. And joining us now for a live look at the forecast is Nick Sirkovich. It's a hot one, buddy.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Surprisingly, normally southwestern Ontario actually not just the hottest, but the sort of the most humid part of southern Ontario. But believe it or not, it's not. I was looking at the numbers and I was surprised. I would have expected to see Windsor seeing some of the highest Humidex values, but right now temperatures a little bit cooler than they are around the Golden Horseshoe. Humidex values lower as well. I don't think anybody's complaining. It's a nice day out there. And perhaps a little bit more in the way of relief than some folks are seeing as you head a little towards southeastern Ontario. Anyway, looking at the numbers, things aren't changing very much as we head through the next couple of days. No relief in sight, at least not in the near term. We've still got lots in the way of sunshine. There's a look at the satellite and radar imagery. As we move through the forecast into the next 24 hours, tomorrow, generally speaking, dry. However, we will trigger off a few afternoon spotty showers across southwestern Ontario. So about a 30% chance of seeing it. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where these are going to be, but there is the chance of seeing them. Better chance, though, on Wednesday as we get more organized sort of showers and thunderstorms to move through the region there, and then they clear out. It doesn't bring much, though, in terms of relief as we head into Thursday. It's really not until Friday where we see a little bit sort of cooler, more seasonal temperatures and a little bit less in the way of humidity as well. Overnight tonight, temperatures 19, 20 degrees. Fog patches, or at least mist developing. We've seen that over the last couple of nights as well. That's with the humidity and also the clear skies as well. Into tomorrow afternoon, highs to about 32 degrees. Humidex values again pushing that 38 to 40 mark, and a 30% chance of seeing a few showers. So isolated showers across the region for some. Here's a look at the 5-day forecast. Following tomorrow, Wednesday, better chance of seeing a few showers as that system moves through. Likely some thunderstorms embedded in there as well. Temperatures, though, still hot. Humidex values still pushing that 40 mark at times. And then 31 on Thursday. 28, if you can call that relief. It's relief on Friday. And then 30 on Saturday again. It is a hot one. Should have just left it to you. It's a hot one.
It's a hot one. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's your weather. What is it? It's hot. It's sweaty.
Yeah, exactly.
It's rough. Thanks for this, Nick. Always appreciate the details.
You bet.
A Toronto man is about to pop onto Lake Ontario, crossing it in a paddleboard. Why you'll want to pay attention next. She's a teenager creating art and understanding. Lily Woodall Hyde is a 13-year-old with severe autism, but with some assistance, she's helping to turn everyday items into something unique. The items, they're sold at a local New Brunswick market to raise money for equipment for people with autism and to raise awareness, too.
Pretty. And let's move around. Lily's my almost 13-year-old daughter. She has severe autism as well as an intellectual disability. So we really were looking for some different types of activities and ideally an art activity that we could do with her workers and on our own. Ready? I try to get her involved as much as possible. It's not possible for her to do every piece. Sometimes I might be a little more ambitious than she is, or I might be in the mood and she's not. Maybe sometimes she wants to do it, and, I've actually had her do some of the pieces with her workers that come every day. They're really great with her. And they've come out with some really interesting, funky colored pieces, that are completely different maybe than what I would have, pulled out. So it's interesting to see, even just when you get other people involved in the activity with her, things turn out, different. It's, I don't know, all the way around, it's a really uncontrolled kind of form of art, but that's perfect for us. We made a lot of little gifts like this that were individual pieces with little tea light candles in them for her, again, teachers and educational assistants that work with her every day. And we just wanted to keep doing it. And now we're at the farmers market every Sunday. We get a great response and we get to talk to the community that Lily's going to grow up in about autism and about, having sensory regulation issues or processing issues, or self-regulation difficulties in different situations and some of the ways that we can help kids with that. Not everybody realizes that maybe a child with severe autism we can hear over there can do something that can turn out like this. Do you know what I mean? And I think every time that I'm talking with parents with children standing there at the market and everything, there's a learning experience there for them and there's a benefit for them. And I feel like a lot of them walk away talking with their kids about this. So it's a good thing all around.
A Toronto man is attempting to become the first person with a physical disability to cross Lake Ontario on a paddleboard. Mike Shorman's a professional paddleboarder and instructor. He has a neurological condition that causes extreme dizziness and facial paralysis. He became ill in 2018. His central nervous system was attacked. He lost his sight, hearing. He had to learn how to walk again. Shorman hopes his journey between Rochester and New York and Toronto will be an inspiration to others.
People told me that, I would never paddleboard again. And I hope this shows people that, don't listen to the naysayers, don't listen to the people that say that you can't do things.
Shorman's using the journey to raise awareness and money for Jack.org, a Canadian mental health organization for youth. He set out on his journey Saturday. And that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Tomorrow, bright and early, 6 in the morning, right here on CBC, we'll be airing the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, the opening ceremonies. The Rick Mercer report's up next. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.